one of the important topics and longest topic. Because its scope has increased and the way they ask. So unless you know the dynamic things, you cannot answer the questions. Recently, one article was written related to this. Have you read it? By two persons, no population, etc., etc. in the Hindu. Read this. So you can understand that article better. How they were trying to talk about southern states achieving population stabilization, and they were talking about finance commission, share of finance commission, symmetrical federal polity, these things. So that is how one issue remains if you talk related to legislation. This recent times already, let's say, it was very, let's say again, innovative question in GS paper. When they ask this question, federal, let's say, federal polity linking to CBI in I guess 2020. This may be last to, let's say, federal and directly linked to CBI. We expected a question only in CBI rather than in federal context. But UPSC asked the question in federal context. And I think it was in 2020. This question was asked. This year they have asked this question. This 2020 to 23. 23, right? GST, it is a simple question. It is a simple question, but not first time they have asked. Already they have asked about Niti Aayog. The Niti Aayog they have asked. They have asked Finance Commission. We have written Finance Commission. They have asked, I guess, GST Council, I do not remember, but this. They have not asked related to, yes, they have asked river water dispute also. This river water dispute also asked. CBI related conflict also asked. This. And Finance Commission, they have been asking, you know that. The Finance Commission several times at least, they have asked 2 times 15 Finance Commission. So 15 Finance Commission, I guess, 2 times they have asked. 14th also they asked, that you can see. Niti Aayog also asked. So that's why it remains an important area. Almost generally they ask. Generally I use this, but it is less visible. You know that it is a expected one. Interstate Council they have not asked so far. Right. It is just, we consider it as a matter of time. Right. When they will ask Interstate Council. Similarly, State Finance Commission, they have not asked. They have not asked, or they have asked this yet? I guess they have not asked. State Finance Commission, they have not asked. It is still, again, we'll tell it is a matter of time that when it will be asked. Yes. So, State Finance Commission, Interstate Council. They are the 2 such topics from federal polity which we expect a question in future. Now, issues if you talk, the issues do not die. Governor already we have talked, All India Service will talk in civil services. This you can consider. As far as this is considered, we do not expect, let's say, question, but yes, a question orientation like that. Why we need to have. And this is nothing but just a debate going on. It is issue. If they have not asked, we'll expect a question on GST Council also. This you can consider. And again, the question will be asked like this. Plus, at the same time, any generic question can be asked in which they can frame a question related to federal polity. This. So, this is how we can consider if you talk about federal polity, etc. related. Yes, so let's start with when we use the term federal, it is nothing but consider that's that power relationship between state. Like we have union and states. Yes. So federal is about power relations. How both exercise power. How both exercise powers. Right? Based on power relationship. Three types of polity. It have been identified. Three types of polity have been identified on the basis of power relations. Like, what are those three types? This one we say as federal. Wait. Other we say as unitary. And third we say as quasi-federal. Yes. So this you can say that. You can say union, you can say states. Quasi-federal is like this. Union, steps. Unitary is like this. Union and steps. Right. Basically, when we have any unitary body, right? So whatever the units you have, like units, let's say you can have center, and we can have states. The states will derive their power. They will derive power from center. Power will flow from center. That is how power relationship. It is the power relationship which decides whether you are a federal, quasi-federal, or you are unitary. A unitary state is one in which there can be different units of a state, but all the different units will derive their power from central unit. Right. And this feature is found in UK and France. Yes. UK and France. Yes. Now, here let's say union and states, let's say. The union and states, they function as two parallel bodies. They are not integrated and they do not, let's say, the two parallel bodies, let's say. The power, their power relationship is parallel. Right. Separate. The parallel, so this is how you have US. Others will also come, but it is the US which becomes the symbol of federal polity. Now, all other, let's say, federal polities, let's say US we can have, then Australia you have, Switzerland we have. So, all those other, let's say, they come between that. So those who do not match with US, but they are better than UK, they come under quasi-federal polity. Like we have also two parallel institutions. Union is parallel, state is parallel. But states are not completely independent. The states are not completely independent. Because of that, it becomes separate but overlapping. So we have these quasi-federal characteristics. Yes. Okay. So federal is nothing but a power relationship between different units of the state, how they exercise their powers. That will decide whether it is a federal power or it is a unitary, federal state or unitary state, right? This. Now, then what are the characteristics when we say that? The fundamental, basic characteristics. Basic characteristics of federal polity. First is written. Written and rigid constitution. Yes. So, written and rigid constitution, isn't it? Independent judiciary. Why it is important? Try to understand. The different units that we have told here. So, different units, let's say that power should be defined somewhere in the The power can be defined only in a constitution. Yes. When let's say union and states are parallel bodies, so their power should be defined. And that power, to define the power, it depends that there should be a written constitution. This first. Now, once power is defined in the written constitutions, it should not be easily changed. If it is easily changed, then power equation can be disturbed. That's why it should have written and rigid constitution. This is one aspect. Now, second is called that it's extension of the division of powers. The power should be clearly defined. This. And then next is called that independent judiciary. Why independent judiciary? Because if any disputes happen between them, the only independent judiciary can give judgment in favor of either. If judiciary is not independent, so it can give judgment in the favor of center against states. Again, the federal polity can be disturbed. And dual government is nothing but when there is a division of powers, there should be dual government. So basically, let's say you need to have two major characteristics, means three major characteristics. Written rigid constitution, division of powers, and we can consider independent judiciary. And we fulfill all the three conditions. If you take this, so we fulfill, let's say that. India fulfill all the three conditions. It fulfills this. It is a federal polity. It is federal polity. What is the problem? Yes?
Not completely.
Right. So it is a federal polity. But then how we will know that how better federal it is? Only when you compare. Right. Unless you have a benchmark, then you may not understand. If you talk the criteria, in that criteria it is a federal polity. But then why it becomes, let's say, less federal or how it is different, so only we know when we compare with US. This you can say that. And when we compare with US, then we are considered as a quasi-federal polity, not a federal polity. Yes. That is how we have to understand. So, let's write few lines for the little talk. Yeah. Since India matches with basic characteristics, since India matches with basic characteristics, it is considered as a federal polity. Considered as federal polity. However, the exact nature of federal polity is understood. The exact nature of federal polity is understood. Federal polity is understood only when polity is understood only when it is compared with US federal polity. Compared with US federal polity, which is considered as a role model or benchmark for any federal polity. Benchmark for any federal polity. Any federal polity. So, comparison between US and Indian federal polity. इस बार का जो कंपैरिजन वाला क्वेश्चन आया है वो बहुत ही सिंपल आया है, isn't it? UK and India Parliamentary sovereignty? You can answer that question? No. This year they asked simple comparison. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, approaches to parliamentary sovereignty. Right. You can write answer, right, on that question, isn't it? To practice. Anyhow, let's write. So let's come write it. On the one side US, on the other side India. US, India, let's write. Right. First. Most rigid constitution in the world. First point. Most rigid constitution in the world. Which demands 3/4 majority. 3/4 majority. As well as the same majority support by states. The same majority support by states. By states. This side. Rigid as well as flexible. Rigid as well as flexible. But in the context of US, it is a flexible constitution. It is a flexible constitution. Right. You can write that. In bracket you can write 27 versus 106. 27 versus 106 amendments in US and India respectively. US and India respectively. Just fact, let's say that. Whatever I can find a fact. So India, it is showing 106th amendment. US has 27 amendments. And it is, you know that, much more older. Next point. Division of powers. Division of powers are clear between union and states. No concurrent list. No concurrent list. This division of powers, but concurrent list and biasness towards center. Biasness towards center. Towards center. Next. Independent judiciary. It has the most independent judiciary in the world. It has the most independent judiciary in the world, with power of due process. Power of due process of law. this side. India has also independent judiciary. But it lacks due process. It lacks due process. It lacks due process. Next, dual government. Dual government. US has two parallel systems. US has two parallel systems. Like within that first, dual constitution, dual courts, means parallel courts, dual citizenship, this side. India has dual government, but there is unitary biasness through first integrated judiciary, single constitution, next unitary institutions like CAG, Election Commission of India, Election Commission of India. Therefore, even if India is a federal polity, even if India has federal polity characteristics, still, even if India has federal polity characteristics, still, in comparison to US, it is considered as a quasi-federal polity. Or it has been challenging to describe its exact nature, which lies between unitary state of UK and federal state of US. Anyhow, so basically, let's see, all will come. Let's say, even they also, if they are federal polity, but still not like US. सोचो, हमारे देश में हम नहीं चाहते कि 2 फ्लैग हो, but US में कितने फ्लैग हैं? 50 flag states have. We have told in the beginning while teaching fundamental rights or preamble. तो हमने ऐसा नर्चर किया है कि we will not tolerate any other flag. और जो टॉलरेट नहीं करना चाहता है वो खुद ही रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करता है फ्लैग को. इट्स अनदर मैटर. Right. So the question is, they have parallel, dual citizenship. Still, there is no problem in loyalty to the country. The dual citizenship, they have dual court. Do you know that? State High Court is apex and US Federal Court is apex. US Federal Court has no jurisdiction over State High Court. State High Court decision is final. US Federal High Court is decision is final. This system. Right. Yes, US Federal Court is empowered to hear Constitutional Court. Means there is a separate Constitutional Court that will deal with only constitutional matters. The US does not have the way we have. Their Constitutional Court is separate. That has 9 judges and including Chief Justice. 9 judges always hear the case together. तो वहाँ पे ये बेंच वाला भी कंसेप्ट नहीं है कि पहले 5 जज वाला के पास जाएगा, फिर 7, फिर 9 चलता रहेगा केस. Rather 9 bench, single bench. This, and it will hear all constitutionally related matters. This you can see. So it's a separate system they have, and that way we can consider rigid also. But now we can consider. Let's say. Therefore, different constitutional and legal experts, different constitutional and legal experts gave different view related to Indian federal polity. Indian federal polity. Indian federal polity. Like Casey Weir, considers it as a quasi-federal polity. Quasi-federal polity. Yes. Cooperative federal polity. Cooperative. Right. He also gave, but that I'm forgetting that. What he told, do you remember? Yes, he told centralizing tendency. Federal polity is centralizing. Federal polity with centralizing tendency. Centralizing tendency. B.R. Ambedkar. B.R. Ambedkar. B.R. Ambedkar, that unique arrangement between federal and unitary nature. Federal and unitary nature. Unitary nature, that in normal times, it works as a federal polity, and only in abnormal times, it becomes unitary. Which is linked to sui generis. That is an unique arrangement. That is a unique arrangement. Also remarked by Morris Jones. Morris Jones. D.D. Basu has also given clarity on the exact nature of Indian federal polity. By highlighting different characteristics. Like first, it is a unitary state with federal character. Next, it is a federal state. With unitary character. Next, it is a federal state with centralizing tendency. Next, it is a quasi-federal state. Among all, it considers federal polity with centralizing tendency. As the most appropriate character of Indian federal polity. It means federal character is one of the core character of Indian Constitution. Which is provided through Schedule 7. That first, states derive power from Constitution, not from center. States derive powers from Constitution, not from center. Next, federal polity has been declared as basic structure federal polity has been declared as basic structure. Next, any federal dispute is directly heard by Supreme Court. Any federal dispute is directly heard by Supreme Court. Supreme Court. However, still it has following unitary characteristics. Still it has following unitary characteristics which make Indian federal polity, which make Indian federal polity a centralized polity. A centralized polity. First, in Schedule 7, Union has been given more preference. Schedule 7, Union has been given more preference over states. Including residuary power. In bracket, extension of Government of India Act 1935. Extension of Government of India Act 1935. Next, emergency powers. Next, unitary powers through All India Services, Governor Office, Office of Governor, CAG, Election Commission of India, Election Commission of India. Next, term federal has not been mentioned in the Constitution. Term federal has not been mentioned in the Constitution. Term federal has not been mentioned in the Constitution. Rather, Article 1 mentions Union of States. Union of States. It means union is sacrosanct. Union is sacrosanct, indestructible. But states are destructible. States are destructible. Therefore, even if federal polity is now a basic structure, but centralizing tendency is also an inherent characteristics. Centralizing tendency is also an inherent characteristics of Indian Constitution. Inherent characteristics of Indian Constitution. Yes. Then the question is that why they have been, let's say that, why it has been done, isn't it? So we have federal also, we have unitary also. Debate always is which one is more. Where is the, let's say that, leaning? Where is the, let's say that, more inclination? Right. So inclination remains more towards centralizing. Because inherent characteristics is that union has been given more powers. If you take subject division, so union list has more subject. Plus, even if it may not have more subject as this, but all major subjects will be mentioned in union list. This, the major subjects mentioned in union list. More importantly, financial aspect. States have not been given financial autonomy. All the financial, let's say, the sources are in union control. Right? Direct tax, indirect tax, all major aspects. Does it mean that framers of the constitution always intended to keep states dependent fiscally on union? That will talk in fiscal challenges, fiscal federal polity. Right? But US में ऐसा नहीं है. A state is free to generate its own fiscal resources and it can be independent. Where in India, a state does not have power to generate fiscal resources. Because the fiscal powers given to states are just chiller type, sorry to say that. They are very small in nature, except sales tax. Others are very small. All the major taxes going to union. So what they will do? Anyhow, so that aspect concept. Plus, it's coercive nature. No? You have all India services, governor office, then CAG, and then Election Commission of India. So these are the institutions which union has complete say, plus emergency, let's say that. More importantly, that states in union of states have not been given any sanctity. Right. They are not sacrosanct. States can be destroyed at will by simple majority. Let's say you don't need to amend constitution also. By simple majority law, states can be, you know how a legislature of Jammu and Kashmir was discontinued. And how, let's say, Union Territory Delhi, you know that. Zyada Kejriwal ji bolenge to. That is how. No one imagined कि यहाँ तक चली जाएगी बात. Right. और since powers are not defined, the Supreme Court is handicapped. कुछ कर नहीं सकते हो. Right. Because it is not a basic structure. Right. It is NCT's Delhi, and any such city capital of the country has a different model of governance. So courts कुछ कर भी नहीं सकते इसमें. Right. In the name of security, etc., center can take away all the powers. This. You can see how, let's say, ordinance is issued and etc., etc. States' powers can be reduced at will. It is at will, let's say, that it can be done. So this is what we can consider. So these are also challenges, although we are not talking about working aspect. Since there are both characteristics, we say with different names, and most handy name we just hear so often is called quasi-federal polity. You'll often hear India is a quasi-federal polity, but it is not exact characterization. Quasi-federal polity does not give a clear picture that what exactly is the federal polity. Quasi means just mixed type. Right. So quasi-federal polity is no doubt description of federal polity, but it does not give you clarity. Where is the leaning? Whether leaning is towards federal polity or leaning in towards unitary policy. But when you say federal polity with centralizing tendency, it gives clarity. That's why it is considered most appropriate characterization. But we cannot always speak like that. Speaking quasi-federal term becomes more handy than speaking every time the full that characteristics. That's why you hear more quasi-federal polity than any other such characteristics. This you can, that way we can consider. Plus it has also cooperative characteristics, even if it is unitary, but still it is cooperative. That we'll talk when we'll take the cooperative competitive federal polity aspect. This. Then the question comes that why we adopted this, why mixed type of these characteristics we adopted, why we did not go for, let's say, federal polity like US type. This